Today, the press asked the question, is, 100 million enough? Week before, they're saying, Biden, you crazy? You can't do 100 million in 100 days. Well, we're going to, God willing, not only do 100 million, we're going to do more than that. But we have to do this. We have to move. The American Rescue Plan also includes economic relief for most Americans who are in need. We're going to finish the job of getting a total of $2,000 in direct payments to folks. $600, which was already passed, is simply not enough. If you still have to choose between paying your rent, putting food on the table. We'll extend unemployment insurance benefits for millions of workers beyond the deadline that's now set. It means that 16 million Americans who are currently relying on unemployment benefits while they look for work can count on these checks continuing to be there in the middle of this crisis. The American Rescue Plan also addresses the growing housing crisis in America. Approximately 14 million Americans, 14 million, have fallen behind on rent, and many risk eviction. If we fail to act, there will be a wave of evictions and foreclosures in the coming months as this pandemic rages on, because there's nothing we can do to change the trajectory of the pandemic in the next several months. So look, this would overwhelm emergency shelters, increase COVID-19 infections as people have nowhere to go and can't socially distance. The American Rescue Plan asks Congress to provide rental assistance for millions of hard-hit families and tenants. This will also be a bridge to economic recovery for countless mom and pop landlords who can't afford not to have the rent. But they can't wait. So on Inauguration Day, I directed my administration to extend nationwide restrictions on evictions and foreclosures. These crises are straining the budgets of states and cities and tribal communities that are forced to consider layoffs and service reductions among essential workers. Police officers, firefighters, first responders, nurses, they're all at the risk of losing their jobs. Over the last year, more than 600,000 educators have lost their jobs in cities and towns. The American Rescue Plan will provide emergency funding to keep these essential workers on the job and maintain essential services. Look, it will also help small businesses that are the engines of our economic growth. When you say small business, most people think the major corporate entities are the ones that hire everybody. These small businesses are the glues that hold, and they're important, but these small businesses hold the glue that hold these communities together. They are hurting badly, and they account for nearly half of the entire U.S. workforce. Nearly half. Our rescue plan will provide flexible grants to help the hardest hit small businesses survive the pandemic, and low-cost capital to help entrepreneurs of all backgrounds create and maintain jobs, plus provide essential goods and services that communities so desperately depend on. Look, our recovery plan also calls for an increase in the minimum wage at least $15 an hour. No one in America should work 40 hours a week, making below the poverty line. $15 gets people above the poverty line. We have so many millions of people working 40 hours a week, and some with 2 jobs, and they're still below the poverty line. Our plan includes access to affordable child care. That's going to enable parents, particularly women, to get back to work. Millions who are not working now because they don't have that care. All told, the American Rescue Plan would lift 12 million Americans out of poverty and cut child poverty in half. That's 5 million children lifted out of poverty. Our plan will reduce poverty in the Black community by 1/3 and reduce poverty in the Hispanic community by almost 40%. I look forward to working with members of Congress of both parties to move quickly to get this American Rescue Plan to the American people. And then we can move with equal urgency and bipartisanship to the second step of our economic plan, to Build Back Better, the recovery plan. It's a plan that's going to make historic investments in infrastructure, manufacturing, innovation, research and development, and clean energy, and so much more that's going to create millions more jobs, good paying jobs, not minimum wage jobs. Well, while we work with members of both parties in the Congress, there are steps that we can and must take right now. For example, on Inauguration Day, I directed my administration to pause student loan repayments for interest for the interest payments for Americans with federal student loans until at least September. So they're not going to have to pay till September. They still pay the bill as it stands now, but they will not accrue interest, and they don't have to begin to pay until September. And we may have to look beyond that, I might add. Today, I'm signing an executive order that directs the whole of government, a whole of government effort to help millions of Americans who are badly hurting. It requires all federal agencies to do what they can do to provide relief to families, small business, and communities. And in the days ahead, I expect agencies to act. Let me touch on 2 ways these actions can help change Americans' lives. We need to tackle the growing hunger crisis in America. 1 in 7 households in America, 1 in 7, more than 1 in 5 Black and Latino households in America report they do not have enough food to eat. That includes nearly 30 million adults and as many as 12 million children. And again, they're in this situation through no fault of their own. It's unconscionable. The American Rescue Plan provides additional emergency food and nutrition assistance for tens of millions of children and families to address this crisis. But families literally can't wait another day. As a result of the executive order I'm going to shortly sign, the Department of Agriculture will consider taking immediate steps to make it easier for the hardest hit families to enroll and claim more generous benefits in the critical food and nutrition assistance area. This is going to help tens of millions of families, especially those who can't provide meals for their kids, who are learning remotely at home, are not receiving the regular meal plans that they have at school for breakfast or lunch. We also need to protect the health and safety of the American worker. Right now, approximately 40% of households in America have at least one member with a pre-existing condition. Just imagine, you're out of work through no fault of your own. You file for unemployment while you're looking for a job. You find one, and you get an offer. But then you find out there's a high risk of you getting infected with COVID-19 because of your condition. You and your loved ones have ever even greater risk of death and serious illness because of the pre-existing conditions. So you turn it down. Right now, if you did that, you could be denied unemployment insurance because you're offered a job, you didn't take it. It's wrong. No one should have to choose between their livelihoods and their own health or the health of their loved ones in the middle of a deadly pandemic. Because of the executive order I'm about to sign, I expect the Department of Labor to guarantee the right to refuse employment that will jeopardize your health, and if you do so, you'll still be able to qualify for the insurance. That's a judgment the Labor Department will make. Look, there are just 2 consequential ways that the action I'm taking today will help people in need. Another way to help approximately 2 million veterans maintain their financial footing by pausing federal collections on overpayments and debts. Another makes sure that federal contractors are receiving taxpayers' dollars, provide their workers with the pay and benefits they deserve. These are places where federal tax dollars are administered, are being made available to build things from ships to staircases. And the federal government lets the contract, and we're going to make sure that they buy American and are made in America. And here's another. Right now, there are up to 8 million people that are eligible for direct payments from the CARES Act and a relief bill passed in December. They're entitled to those payments, but there's not an easy way for those folks to access them. So we're making it a priority today to fix that problem and get them relief they're entitled to. Look, I'm going to close and summarize this way. A lot of America is hurting. The virus is surging. We're 400,000 dead, expected to reach well over 600,000. Families are going hungry. People are at risk of being evicted. Job losses are mounting again. We need to act. No matter how you look at it, we need to act. If we act now, our economy will be stronger in both the short and long run. That's what economists left, right, and center are telling us. Both liberal and conservative will be better and stronger across the board. If we act now, we'll be better able to compete with the world. If we act now, we'll be better able to meet our moral obligations to one another as Americans. I don't believe the people of this country just want to stand by and watch their friends, their neighbors, coworkers, fellow Americans go hungry, lose their homes, or lose their sense of dignity and hope and respect. I don't believe that, especially in the middle of a pandemic that's so weakened and wreaked so much havoc and caused so much pain on America. That's not who we are. The bottom line is this: we're in a national emergency. We need to act like we're in a national emergency. So we've got to move with everything we've got, and we've got to do it together. I don't believe Democrats or Republicans are going hungry and losing jobs. I believe Americans are going hungry and losing their jobs. And we have the tools to fix it. We have the tools to get through this. We have the tools to get this virus under control and our economy back on track. And we have the tools to help people. So let's use the tools, all of them. Use them now. So I'm going to sign this executive order, but let me conclude again by saying, folks, this is one of the cases where business, labor, Wall Street, Main Street, liberal, conservative economists know we have to act now, not only to help people who are in need now, but to allow us to be in a competitive position worldwide and be the leader of the world economy in the next year and 2 and 3 and going forward. So thank you. I'm going to sign this executive order. The first one is the economic relief related to COVID-19 pandemic that I referenced. The second one is protecting the federal workforce.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here as we near the end of another week together. And on this Friday night, no break from the news. We begin here with the alarming headline on the coronavirus today. Britain's Prime Minister said today that they believe that this UK variant that we're now seeing here in the U.S. in at least 21 states tonight, that it's not only much more contagious, but it's also more deadly. Scientists are cautioning tonight that they still need to study this longer, but they do acknowledge already it does spread and easily. Tonight, the U.S. now